Let me start with something nobody wants to hear, but everyone needs to understand. Anxiety isn't going away. Ever. It's not a temporary visitor that'll pack up and leave once you figure out the right meditation app or self-help book. It's more like that annoying roommate who's on the lease. You can't kick them out, but you can definitely set some boundaries. The problem isn't that you have anxiety. The problem is that you've been treating it like it's the enemy, when really, you just need to learn how to be the boss in this relationship. Today we're talking about how to stop letting anxiety run your life and start managing it like the capable adult you are. The uncomfortable truth about anxiety. First, let's get one thing straight. Anxiety isn't a character flaw or a sign that you're broken. It's a biological response that kept your ancestors alive. When a predator showed up, anxiety made them run faster. When danger lurked around the corner, anxiety kept them alert and ready. The issue is that your brain hasn't gotten the memo that we're not running from saber-toothed tigers anymore. It still sounds the same alarm for a work presentation that it would for a life or death situation. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a real threat and the possibility that someone might not like your Instagram post. So when your heart starts racing because you have to make a phone call, or when your palms get sweaty before a job interview, that's not your brain malfunctioning. That's your brain trying to protect you from what it perceives as danger, even when that danger is just adult responsibilities. The modern anxiety epidemic. Here's what makes it worse. We're living in the most anxiety-provoking time in human history. Constant notifications, social media comparisons, news cycles designed to keep you scared, economic uncertainty, climate change, political chaos. Your nervous system is on high alert 24/7. Add to that the pressure to be perfect, productive, and positive all the time, and it's no wonder anxiety feels overwhelming. You're not weak for struggling with it. You're human. Why fighting anxiety makes it worse. Here's the cruel irony. The harder you try to eliminate anxiety, the stronger it gets. It's like trying not to think about a white bear. The more you tell yourself not to think about it, the more bears show up in your mind. When you tell yourself, I shouldn't be anxious, I need to calm down, or what's wrong with me? You're adding a second layer of stress on top of the original anxiety. Now you're anxious about being anxious. You're fighting a war on two fronts, and anxiety always wins that battle. Understanding your anxiety response. Let's break down what's actually happening in your body when anxiety hits, because understanding the enemy is the first step to managing it. When your brain perceives a threat, real or imagined, it triggers your sympathetic nervous system. This floods your body with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense up, and your digestive system shuts down. Blood flow gets redirected to your major muscle groups because your body is preparing to either fight or run. This is called the fight or flight response, and it's actually pretty amazing when you need it. The problem is when it gets triggered by things like social situations, work deadlines, or that text message that just says, we need to talk. The anxiety spiral. Here's how it typically goes. Something triggers your anxiety. Maybe you have to give a presentation. Your body starts the fight or flight response. You notice these physical sensations and think, oh no, I'm having anxiety. This thought makes you more anxious because now you're worried about the anxiety itself. You start catastrophizing. What if I panic during the presentation? What if everyone notices I'm sweating? What if I forget everything I was going to say? Each what if feeds the anxiety, making the physical symptoms worse, which creates more anxious thoughts. Before you know it, you're in a full spiral, and the thing you were originally anxious about seems impossible to handle. Reframing anxiety as information. Here's where we start changing the game. Instead of treating anxiety as the enemy trying to ruin your life, start treating it as information. Anxiety is your brain's way of saying, hey, this thing matters to you, so let's make sure you're prepared. Anxious about a job interview? That means the job is important to you. Nervous about a first date? That means you care about making a good impression. Worried about a friend's health? That means you love them. The anxiety itself isn't the problem. It's how you respond to it that determines whether it helps or hinders you. The difference between reacting and responding. Most people react to anxiety immediately and emotionally. They panic, avoid, shut down, or spiral into worst-case scenarios. That's a reaction, automatic, unconscious, and usually not helpful. A response, on the other hand, is conscious and deliberate. It's noticing the anxiety, acknowledging what it's trying to tell you, and then choosing what to do next based on your values and goals, not your fears. I'm feeling anxious about this presentation. That makes sense. It's important to me to do well. Let me prepare thoroughly, practice a few times, and then I'll give it my best shot. See the difference? One hands all the power over to anxiety. The other keeps you in the driver's seat. Practical strategies for managing anxiety. All right, enough theory. Let's talk about real practical tools you can use when anxiety shows up uninvited to the party. Name it to tame it. When anxiety hits, don't just sit there drowning in the physical sensations and racing thoughts. Name what you're experiencing, out loud if you have to. I'm feeling anxious about this meeting. My chest is tight because I'm worried about money. I notice I'm having catastrophic thoughts about this situation. Research in neuroscience shows that labeling your emotions actually reduces their intensity. It activates the prefrontal cortex, the logical thinking part of your brain, and calms down the amygdala, which is the emotional alarm system. It sounds almost too simple to work, but it's stupidly effective. You're literally talking yourself down from the ledge by acknowledging what's happening instead of fighting it. The 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. When your thoughts are spiraling and you feel like you're losing control, ground yourself in the present moment. This technique engages your senses and brings you back to reality. Name 5 things you can see around you, 4 things you can physically touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. It sounds silly, but it works because anxiety lives in the future, in the what-ifs and hypothetical disasters. Grounding yourself brings you back to the present moment, where, most of the time, you're actually safe. Control your breathing, control your nervous system. When you're anxious, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, which sends a signal to your brain that you're in danger, which makes you more anxious. It's a feedback loop that keeps you stuck. Break the cycle by taking control of your breath. Try the 4-7-8 technique. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. Or just focus on making your exhales longer than your inhales. You're literally hacking your nervous system, sending a message to your brain that says, "We're safe. We can relax now." Move your body. Anxiety is stored energy. Your body is flooded with stress hormones and primed for action, but you're just sitting there marinating in the discomfort. Move that energy through your system. Walk, run, dance, do jumping jacks, shake your hands and feet. Literally anything that gets your body moving. Exercise isn't just good for your physical health, it's medicine for your mental health. Even 10 minutes can completely shift your state. The stop technique. When you notice anxiety starting to build, use this 4-step process. Stop what you're doing and pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Observe what you're feeling without judgment. Proceed with intention based on your values, not your fears. This creates a moment of space between the trigger and your response, giving you the chance to choose how you want to handle the situation instead of just reacting automatically. The exposure principle. Facing your fears. Here's where most people mess up their relationship with anxiety. They avoid anything that triggers it. Social situations, new opportunities, difficult conversations, challenging tasks. They dodge it all, thinking they're protecting themselves. But avoidance doesn't make anxiety go away. It makes it grow stronger. Every time you avoid something because it makes you anxious, you're teaching your brain that it was indeed dangerous, reinforcing the fear response. The only way through anxiety is through it. Not around it, not over it, not under it. Through it. Start small and build confidence. You don't have to throw yourself into the deep end. Gradual exposure is more effective than shock therapy. Start with situations that trigger mild anxiety and work your way up to bigger challenges. Anxious about social interactions? Start by making small talk with a cashier. Nervous about speaking up in meetings? Practice asking one question. Scared of trying new things? Take a different route home from work. Each small win builds confidence and proves to your brain that you can handle more than you thought you could. Success builds on success. The magic happens outside your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. All the things you want, better relationships, career advancement, personal growth, new experiences, they all live outside the boundaries of what feels safe and familiar. Anxiety is often a sign that you're approaching something that matters to you, something that could change your life for the better. Instead of seeing it as a stop sign, start seeing it as a GPS pointing you toward growth. Lifestyle factors that amplify or reduce anxiety. You can't therapy your way out of anxiety if your lifestyle is actively working against you. Let's talk about the basics that either fuel anxiety or help you manage it. Sleep is non-negotiable. When you're sleep deprived, your brain's threat detection system goes haywire. Everything feels more dangerous. Everything feels harder to handle. Your emotional regulation goes out the window, and your anxiety skyrockets. 7 to 9 hours of sleep isn't a luxury. It's essential maintenance for your mental health. If you're struggling with anxiety and you're not prioritizing sleep, you're fighting an uphill battle. Create a bedtime routine, limit screen time before bed, keep your bedroom cool and dark, and be consistent with your sleep schedule. Your anxious brain will thank you. Watch your stimulant intake. If you're drowning in anxiety and also pounding 3 cups of coffee a day, you're literally pouring gasoline on a fire. Caffeine, energy drinks, excessive sugar, they all spike your nervous system and make anxiety worse. Pay attention to how different substances affect you. Some people can handle caffeine fine, others need to cut it out completely. Know your body and adjust accordingly. Nutrition matters more than you think. Your brain is an organ, and like all organs, it needs proper fuel to function well. Processed foods, sugar crashes, and irregular eating patterns can all contribute to anxiety. Focus on whole foods, regular meals, and staying hydrated. Omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, and B vitamins are particularly important for nervous system health. Move your body regularly. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools for managing anxiety, and it's completely free. Regular movement helps metabolize stress hormones, releases endorphins, improves sleep, and builds resilience. You don't need to become a gym rat. Even a 20-minute walk daily can make a significant difference. Find movement you actually enjoy, because consistency matters more than intensity. Connection over isolation. Anxiety loves isolation. It thrives when you're alone with your racing thoughts, spiraling without anyone to reality check your catastrophic predictions. Maintain social connections, even when you don't feel like it. Talk to people about what you're going through. Join communities, whether online or in person, where you can connect with others who understand. Humans are social creatures. We're not meant to handle life's challenges alone. When professional help is necessary. Let's be clear about something. Managing anxiety doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Sometimes the tools and strategies you can implement on your own aren't enough, and that's okay. If your anxiety is so severe that it's significantly impacting your daily life, causing you to miss work, avoid relationships, have frequent panic attacks, or engage in harmful behaviors, it's time to get professional help. Therapy options. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is particularly effective for anxiety. It helps you identify and change the thought patterns that fuel your anxiety and teaches you practical coping strategies. Exposure and response prevention, ERP, is especially helpful if you have specific phobias or obsessive-compulsive tendencies. EMDR can be useful if your anxiety is rooted in past trauma. A good therapist will give you tools and strategies that you can use long after therapy ends. They're not going to manage your anxiety for you. They're going to teach you how to manage it yourself. Medication considerations. Sometimes medication can be a helpful part of treatment, especially if your anxiety is severe or if there are underlying chemical imbalances. Medication isn't a cure-all, but it can provide stability that makes it easier to implement other coping strategies. If you're considering medication, work with a psychiatrist who specializes in anxiety disorders. Be honest about your symptoms, your lifestyle, and your concerns. Remember, taking medication for anxiety is no different than taking medication for diabetes or high blood pressure. Mental health is health. Building long-term resilience. Managing anxiety isn't just about dealing with it in the moment. It's about building your overall resilience so that you can handle life's inevitable stresses and uncertainties. Develop a daily practice. This doesn't mean you need to become a meditation guru or yoga master. It means having consistent daily practices that support your mental health. Maybe it's 5 minutes of deep breathing in the morning. Maybe it's journaling before bed. Maybe it's a gratitude practice or a short walk after work. Find what works for you and make it non-negotiable. Challenge your thoughts. Anxiety loves to tell stories, usually catastrophic ones. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if something terrible happens? Learn to question these thoughts instead of accepting them as facts. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful or harmful? What evidence do I have that this will actually happen? What would I tell a friend who was thinking this way? What's the most likely outcome, not the worst-case scenario? Build your support network. Surround yourself with people who understand what you're going through and who support your growth. This might include friends, family, support groups, online communities, or mental health professionals. Having people you can reach out to when anxiety hits makes all the difference. Don't try to be strong all the time. Vulnerability is actually a sign of strength. Practice self-compassion. Stop beating yourself up for having anxiety. You wouldn't criticize a friend for having a broken leg, so why criticize yourself for having a stressed nervous system? Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. Acknowledge that you're doing your best with the tools you have, and that it's okay to struggle sometimes. The paradox of acceptance. Here's the final piece of the puzzle, and it's counterintuitive. The more you accept that anxiety is part of being human, the less power it has over you. When you stop fighting anxiety, stop hating yourself for feeling it, stop believing that something's fundamentally wrong with you, anxiety loses its grip. It becomes background noise instead of a blaring alarm. You're not trying to eliminate anxiety completely. You're learning to live a full, meaningful life with it. And that changes everything. Anxiety as a teacher. Once you stop seeing anxiety as the enemy, you can start seeing it as information, even as a teacher. What is your anxiety trying to tell you about what matters to you? What values is it highlighting? What areas of your life might need attention? Sometimes anxiety points to things that need to change. Sometimes it points to things that are worth being nervous about because they're important to you. Sometimes it's just your brain being overprotective, and you can thank it for trying to keep you safe while you go ahead and do the thing anyway. Conclusion: you're stronger than your anxiety. So here's what you need to tattoo on your brain. Anxiety is uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous. It feels overwhelming, but it won't destroy you. And most importantly, it doesn't get to make your decisions for you. You do. The goal isn't to never feel anxious again. The goal is to feel anxious and do what matters to you anyway. To let anxiety ride shotgun in your car, but never let it drive. Stop waiting for the magical day when you'll feel calm and confident before you take action. That day isn't coming. The people you admire who seem fearless, they're anxious too. They just don't let it stop them. Your anxiety doesn't define you. It doesn't predict your future. It doesn't determine your worth. How you respond to it, that's what defines you. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and more capable than you know. Your anxiety might be along for the ride, but you're the one behind the wheel. Stop fighting it, start managing it, and get ready to be amazed by what you can accomplish when you stop letting fear make your decisions. What's your biggest takeaway from this? Drop a comment and let me know which strategy you're going to try first. And if this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not broken, they're just human, and that's more than enough.